You're not craving a drink. You're not stressed. You're not planning anything. Life is just happening and you're fine to be the central figure in the story of it. But then you hear someone say something to you, maybe on a podcast, maybe you watch it on TV or something. And this person who says this thing, someone you like, someone you respect, someone who is successful, maybe they're funny or relatable, and they're talking about a big night, right? They're talking about a celebration and they're talking about the reward, the we deserved it moment. And nothing dramatic happens, but something inside you softens. And that is what this episode is all about. Welcome to the Truth About Alcohol podcast. I'm your host, LeeDavy, and this is a pod for people who know something about their drinking doesn't quite add up, and they want to understand why stopping feels so much harder than it should. No labels, no judgment, just honest conversation about alcohol and change, okay? So this morning, I was listening to a podcast. It wasn't a podcast about alcohol or recovery or anything like that. It wasn't even a controversial podcast. It was funny. The voices were very confident. I was listening to people with wide reach around the world, and they were telling a story about a big night out, a celebration. Drinking in this story was framed as part of the win. And the shift that I felt inside my body when I was listening to this was not temptation, it was irritation. It was a flash of anger, a kind of, for fuck's sake, not again moment, because this is something that happens quite a lot on this podcast, right? And what hit me, it wasn't the drinking. It was a realization yet again of how many people around the world were about to hear this story and quietly absorb this message, right? That drinking alcohol is fine. That drinking alcohol, right, equals success. This is what success looks like. And drinking alcohol is the only way you should celebrate if you want to be normal, not weird, and part of the gang, right? And I felt really protective, not of myself, but of the people listening, because I could see the permission being handed out in real time, right? I could see it, but could other people see it? Right? Like it's being handed out like there's no pressure. They're not giving advice. It's just classic storytelling doing its work. And that's the moment that this podcast is all about, right? This episode is all about. Because this moment isn't about peer pressure. Nobody offered me a drink. The guys I was listening to, they didn't openly encourage me to drink. They didn't tell me that alcohol was nice, natural, necessary, normal, or noble. And this isn't really a podcast about podcasts, right? Because podcasts, in this case, the podcast where I heard them celebrating with alcohol, is just a delivery vehicle, okay? The moment that we're discussing really is permission by proximity, okay? Because when alcohol keeps getting framed as the centerpiece of big moments, not as comfort, not as escape, but actually as confirmation that you belong, confirmation that you're not on the outside, confirmation that you are part of the inner circle, then it shows up as status, not substance. It's a signal that says, I'm in, that I count, that I understand the rules of engagement here if I want to remain part of this tribe. And your nervous system is never going to argue with that. It's never going to overanalyze it. It's just going to absorb the ranking, like where you sit in the group, whether you're included or not, whether you look like someone who belongs in the room, because this isn't about pleasure. It's about alcohol being quietly installed as the badge of legitimacy, right? Where you're thinking to yourself, this is what real life looks like. This is how cool people connect. This is how you prove that you should never be outside of the pack. And that is why it is so persuasive, because it doesn't feel like temptation. It feels like belonging, being secured, which makes you feel very, very safe. Now, this moment is dangerous because nothing feels wrong. Nothing feels off. You're listening to a podcast. You're probably enjoying it. You're having fun. You're moseying on about your day. You don't feel anxious. You don't feel lonely. You're not struggling. There's no alarm bells ringing off, right? But what's really happening is this. Alcohol is being installed into your psyche as a symbol, not a substance, not a problem, but a symbol of life done properly. And that is how the invisible lie, the liquid lie, stays invisible. Now, the podcast that I was listening to was very male centric, right? It was a football podcast. Now, I know women love football as well, but it's very, very male centric. But this isn't a man's issue. It's not a woman's issue. It shows up all over the place, right? It shows up in memes, on cards, birthday cards and Christmas cards, right? It shows up as wine o'clock humor, survived, or I survived the week jokes, or I've earned it language. Oh my God, I had such a hangover today. I ruined my day. Pride, right? Different packaging, same permission. And the media, they don't tell you to drink, but it tells you that those who do drink, they belong. Now let's just slow down for a second, right? If you've ever noticed yourself feeling more relaxed around alcohol without actually wanting it, there's nothing wrong with you, okay? You're not doing anything wrong. What is happening is the liquid lie, this culture that alcohol is nice, normal, natural, necessary, noble, is pulling you towards it. You are being reorientated, right? And this is why stopping drinking alcohol isn't about willpower. You're not resisting a habit. You're resisting a story, a very, very powerful story. The stories like, this is how adults celebrate, real men, real women. This is how we bond. This is how life feels full. And until that story is seen clearly, it keeps slipping past your defenses. So the work here today for you isn't avoidance, it is awareness. I want you to notice when alcohol is being presented to you as meaning, not medicine. Notice when a celebration quietly becomes conditional. Maybe you see a wedding on TV or a funeral or a birthday party. Maybe that's just happened in your life. Maybe you hear about it on the radio. Maybe you see an advert on the tube walls as you're going to work, right? And I don't want you to judge it. I don't want you to fight it. I just want you to see it. Because once you see the mechanism, the marketing mechanism that is going on, and the market, the correct, like the beautiful marketing plan here is the men and women of the world, particularly really successful ones, who are the walking, talking billboards, right? Once you see the walking, talking billboards and you see how this is happening consistently, it loses its magic. So if this landed for you, you will start noticing these moments everywhere, not as temptation, but as permission. And that's where the real change actually begins, not with the drink, but with the story that made the drink feel deserved and needed if you wanted to belong in your tribe. Okay, that's all I have time for today. Much love to everybody. Strive on. And until tomorrow, take care of yourself.